Greetings. Introducing Voices of Festival, brand new podcast series from the International African Arts Festival, created to keep you connected as we count down to our 55th year of culture, creativity, and community. Each week, hear directly from the artists, dancers, musicians, vendors, and community members who make this festival an unforgettable experience. Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for Voices of Festival. Celebrate the culture, feel the rhythm, be part of the journey.
Peace, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Voices of Festival. My name is Sakina Nzinga Kennard, and I am your host this evening. We send regards to Baba Adiyemi Bandele and Baba Shegun Shabaka, our other co-hosts for our podcast, Voices of Festival. So let me just get into it. We have a wonderful guest this evening. Her name is Dr. Jamila Cordington. But first, we are going to acknowledge those that come before us, our ancestors. And I want to begin by saying we give honor and we give praise to those that have come before us. And I will say Ibaye. Ibaye means we give honor and we give praise. So we'll start off the roll call with Ibaye, Baba Jitu, where you see Ibaye, Baba Robo Jumatutu, Ibaye, Mama Amanisha, Ibaye, Mama Lottie, Ibaye, Mama Bird, Ibaye, Mama Stephanie Weaver, Ibaye, Baba Lloyd Weaver, Ibaye, Baba Bernard Kinsey, Ibaye, Ia Salima Moyo Smith, Ibaye, Mama Kaumba, Ibaye, Brother Abubadika, Ibaye, Sister Asada Shakur, Ibaye, Nana Denizulu, Ibaye, MZ Moyo, Ibaye, Baba Dick Gregory, Ibaye, Baba Kuja Bandele, Ibaye, Imam Jamil, Al Amin, aka H. Rat Brown, Ibaye, Sister Viola Plummer, Ibaye, Tulivo Donna Cumberbatch, Ibaye, Jan Parker, Ibaye, to all those who have come before us, Ibaye, Baba Stan Kennard, my father, Ibaye, to all those that have come before us, whose shoulders we stand upon, and we say thank you. We say thank you for letting us know that you're forever present, and thank you moving forward. Asha. So with that said, and taking the time to acknowledge our ancestors, our community leaders, our community organizers, our revolutionaries, we just say thank you. And we always offer space and time for them because they are the ones who push us forward. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Codrington, who is a leader in the field of child and adolescent mental health. Her expertise has been sought out to train, teach, and raise awareness, particularly about urban youth of color with mental health and social service within the social service industry, faith-based communities, grassroots organizations, and institutions of higher learning. She is a champion of social justice. Dr. Codrington has also established herself as one of the most passionate and respected voices on diverse issues affecting oppressed and disenfranchised populations from a psychological perspective. And so through public forums, consultations, and guest lectures, radio, television shows, publications, and partnerships with grassroots organizations, Dr. Codrington has addressed a wide array of social justice issues affecting individuals and community of color. So without further ado, I would like to bring on Sister Dr. Jamila Cordington. Thank you.
Peace, everyone, and greetings. Thank you, Sister Sakina, for creating space, first of all, for this important conversation
Yes.
and for the introduction.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We salute you for the work that you do within mental health is greatly needed in our communities. So it's a pleasure to interview you today. So you have an event coming up with a festival in partnership with NACO, which is the National Association of Kawaii Organization. And that event is on April 19th.
Yes,
Coming up, it will be at Restoration um, from 3 to 5 p.m. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this event?
sure. So it's actually, yes, this Sunday from 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay.
Uh, and it is part of NACO's monthly community education forum. We are focusing on mental health, and the focus, particularly for this forum, is going to be standing in our power, African
Mm,
centered healing for race based trauma. And so we are literally going to be doing a deep dive. I have
mm,
periodically been honored to speak with the community for events that NACO and International African Arts Festival have hosted. And I always run out of time when we're
mm,
on panels. So Brother Shagun and Brother Bokeem said, you know what, this one, we're going to give you your platform and we're going to give you an opportunity to move through the material. So it's
mm,
a blessed opportunity for me to be able to have a full 2 hours of uninterrupted dialogue and conversation, really around what it means to carry the load of
mhm,
living while Black within the diaspora, but particularly in a time when politically there are so many dominant narratives that tell us that the experience of racism and oppression and neocolonialism are gone, or
mhm,
that the harm that is created is minimal, or that worse than that, that the harm is internal. It is something that exists solely within our Black communities, as opposed to the residual effects of racism and oppression. So we
mhm.
really want to take control of the narrative,
Okay.
and in particular, we want to make sure that we have a solution focused conversation. So I'm going to be bringing a framework that really integrates African and Black psychology with Black nationalism, with traditional African cultural arts, and a trauma informed practice that's grounded
Mhm.
in ancestral wisdom. So that's the
Okay.
ambitious task of this Sunday.
Okay. Wonderful. So can you go over like what would a deep dive entail? Because I'm
Sure,
open.
sure. So first of all, there are so many individuals that don't realize what trauma involves, how it manifests, because
Mm-hmm.
we have been so used to just putting our best foot forward, surviving without thriving, living in an environment where we are constantly in a place where we are um, expected to be resilient. And we have all of these narratives around the strength of people of African descent and Black girl magic, and you know
Mm-hmm.
the ways in which we have been taught to just keep pushing and swallowing, our pain and showing up, just continuously showing up. And we
Mm-hmm.
want to first take a moment to do a deep dive into understanding the fact that race-based harm is something that is really the air that we breathe. And we're
Mhm.
not looking for a single event trauma for people to relate to this conversation. We're not looking for uh, police arrest or violence. Those things do exist. But we're talking about things that are the day-to-day sort of ways that our dignity, our ability to be self-empowered are under attack. Okay, and what that does to the African and Black psyche.
Mhm.
Space harm is everywhere. So the deep dive begins with just putting racial trauma on its proper platform so that we can unpack it and understand the various
Mhm.
ways in which it manifests.
Really, just so you're saying in terms of really identifying what it is, because, before you can heal anything, you have to acknowledge it or be able
Absolutely.
to say that I have this, you
Absolutely.
know. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Um,
And many of us function well despite the circumstances, despite the experiences, despite the thousand race-based paper cuts that
mm-hmm.
we have lived through and that intergenerationally have also been passed down, right? so
Mm-hmm.
so we want to be able to first understand the various ways in which it manifests, as you said, so that we can call it out and we can begin to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to also understand that we heal in community.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a need to really release ourselves from many of the Western frameworks that focus on healing through a one-on-one exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a psychologist, of course, I'm trained formally to do clinical work uh, with an individual in a room. Um, and we know from our ancestors that healing took place with um, community members. It took place with herbs. It took place
Mm-hmm.
with our shoes off in the soil, dancing and hearing the rhythms of the drums. It took place connecting with ancestors, ancestral veneration. It
Mm-hmm.
took place through song, through folklore. It took place through spiritual practices. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to reclaim our traditional African ways of healing. And much of what we are selling, within the field of mental health is a very Western product. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's very important for us as African centered psychologists to reclaim and sort of restory what it means to heal so that our cultural identity is affirmed, our ancestral memory is called upon, and we have a collective process through which we can create a healing paradigm. And so
So,
that's another piece of what the focus will be upon.
okay. So you're saying that one of the tools that you utilize in walking someone through a session would be to engage within their community versus having, I mean, this would just be off of a one-on-one. You would have to have that one-on-one first to identify what the trauma is, but you encourage your clients to engage on a communal level to be able to transfer the trauma over.
Well, I would say that if clients engaged in a one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then that is the icing on the cake. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, because of how challenging it is to find culturally aligned therapists, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean melanated therapists, I mean culturally
Just
aligned,
culturally aligned. Yes, I
culturally aligned
understand.
therapists, um,
Mm-hmm.
and also work through some of the challenges with insurance, some of the challenges with the high rates of therapy. Many people in our communities won't get to the office. Many people
Mhm.
won't get to experience that one-on-one. And also, in order to reach a tipping point for African liberation, we have to heal the masses. This one-off process is not really, it doesn't really match up with the gravity of the offenses that our people are experiencing moment by moment each day.
Mhm.
And so really the goal is to come outside of that frame, even from the very beginning, and to think about healing circles, to think about how we can push into sort of non-clinical spaces, whether they be, um, barbershops, corner stores, schools, after-school programs, faith-based institutions, forums like this, where community members
Mhm.
are just coming in to hear a good word. This is where the education takes place, because not everything is therapy, right? We can have therapeutic conversations without engaging in a therapeutic relationship.
Mhm.
So we want to really think about, first of all, awareness, because as we know, even though it is very cliche, knowledge is power. And
Mhm.
so when we know better, we can do better. We can engage in holistic practices that support our trauma recovery without it having to be psychotherapy. Okay.
Mhm.
And to even know, well, what does that entail? What does
Mhm.
it mean to engage in a holistic practice that engages the nervous system?
Mhm.
So those are the kinds of things that we'll be talking about, where people who may not get to see a Dr. Codrington or any other culturally aligned mental health professional can still engage in uh, trauma work, can still support the larger goal of healing our community by healing themselves, healing their
Mhm.
families, and then it reverberates outward.
Okay, so you would say that this upcoming event would be sort of like a healing circle format to engage the community to acknowledge trauma and give them tools as to how to address the traumas that they have acknowledged from coming to the event.
So it is an educational forum,
Okay.
more than it will be a healing circle.
Mm-hmm.
We will talk about how individuals can have those tools that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about, but we won't necessarily engage in those tools in the forum.
Okay.
But the understanding of how we can work within ourselves, within our households, our families, within schools, within the larger community, looking at each of those levels. Where are the entry points for healing inside of those respective spaces is what
Mm-hmm.
we'll be talking about. And so
Okay.
this is an opportunity for everyone to come, to the table, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whether you are an individual that feels like you've had a one-on-one sort of direct experience with race-based trauma or not, again, everyone who is living within the United States is dealing with this age-old problem of of racism, and so we want to
Mm-hmm.
look at it from an anti-Black racism lens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's very powerful. And I commend you for the work that you're doing. I find that, the conversation of, you need to go to therapy is always lurking on social media now. And there's a lot of avenues to, you know, um, inspire people to do talk therapy.
Yes.
And, you know, even with going, our people, it's not really common for us to go to therapy generationally wise. I think this is a new phenomenon, just period. And growing up Pan-African or, in African spiritual traditions, a lot of people shy away from the traditional clinical therapist because just off of the fact that, you want to find somebody that can even relate to your way of thinking, you know. And so when you say that, our people really need to get into communal communal therapy and healing circles, and just finding other avenues to address the traumas that we've all experienced. That's commendable. So, yes, April 19th.
Yes, this Sunday,
April 19th, this Sunday.
April 19th, 3:30 to 5:30 at Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Plaza. We are, really providing an opportunity for people to be able to have a longer period of time to really focus on mental health, as opposed to an interdisciplinary panel. So I really want to acknowledge the leadership within NACO and International African Arts Festival, who have always understood the importance of mental health within the larger scope of liberation of African peoples. And so this is a testament to that.
Thank you. Yes. And that's, really what the International African Arts Festival as an organization, this is what we are doing and continuing to do to curate events for our cultural community throughout the year. So please come out for this event, April 19th, from 3:30 to 5:30 at Restoration Plaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so with that said, with the forum, can you tell me more about your journey in terms of how you came on this path?
Wow. Well, first, let me just say that when you talk about the International African Arts Festival and the work that has been done, I was a dancer before I was a psychologist.
Okay.
I performed with the company that my mother co-founded, Afua Sewa Codrington, which is Caltef African Dance Company. And prior to that, performed at Dance Africa when I was a child. And I just say that to say that the cultural arts has actually been the community that raised me, the Brooklyn African cultural arts community. So it is not by accident that when I decided to go into the field of psychology, I became an African-centered psychologist who really was committed on figuring out how to bridge the gap between my two worlds. And it wasn't easy. In the very beginning, when I went to school, I did not go to a African-centered training program whatsoever. And while I did have African-American mentor and dissertation advisor, it was really focused on sort of race-based politics and the challenges of being African-American. But my Pan-African focus and my Black nationalism and the things that helped me to understand what healing is really about came from growing up inside of this cultural community in Brooklyn. So I'm born and raised in Bed-Stuy, and so what that meant was that I was constantly going to the Bembes. I was constantly going to the dance classes at the Armory and constantly being inside of the frame of individuals who understood the importance of Black power, social justice, really understanding uh, the ways in which scholarship and the cultural arts go together.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother is a historian. She's a dancer, and so she always her performances. If you ever came to a Caltech concert, there was always, at least a 15-20 minute segment where you were getting beaten over the head with some history.
Exactly.
And there was a
Mm-hmm.
way in which that history was woven through the presentation. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is how I learned to be a professional. It was about being true to self, serving the community, focusing on the importance of the cultural arts, spirituality, and also making sure that, again, uh, empowerment and liberation and anti-Black racism are always at the forefront of my work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I got my humble beginnings. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and now I do a number of things. 2015, I sort of came out of the public mental health industry full time and started my own private practice and consulting business, which is called Asili Services. And
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who is familiar with Dr. Marimba Ani and her work, Yorugu, she talks about asili, which is
Mm-hmm.
that key Swahili word meaning origin or seed or essence. And
Mm-hmm.
so my orientation to the healing process is based on the philosophy that our inner resources are the true source of our strength. And it's the energy or that seed, that asili that is needed to bring forth change. We don't need
Mm-hmm.
to look outside of ourselves to be fixed. We need to remember, reclaim, and restore the ancestral wisdom that we have and the traditions that we have to empower ourselves, to heal ourselves, to transform ourselves. And when we
Mm-hmm.
tap into that, we tap into our inner strengths and we tap
Mm-hmm.
into being the best of who we can be, which is why the work that I do fits so well with the Kawaida philosophy within Nako, because it's
Mm-hmm.
really about understanding our traditional cultural knowledge, that seed,
Mm-hmm.
and closing the gap between our thought practices and behaviors and agendas now as a community, and the best of what we have in terms of what it means to be African.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's powerful. Yes. And it it it, it almost reminds me of transpersonal psychology. Would you attribute it to that in terms of being able to tap into your inner self, your inner conversation, along with like universal law principles? Um,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that transpersonal psychology can find itself inside of what I'm describing, which is really African psychology,
okay.
and Black psychology, which, you know, I am a proud member of the Association of Black Psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
past president of the New York Association of Black Psychology. And really, these frameworks are very ancient frameworks that
Mm-hmm.
existed before, even transpersonal psychology. And really thinking about, first of all, psyche is spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Western, when you think about, the root of the word and the literal translation, but uh, the Western frame has stripped sort of the illumination of the spirit, which is where the Association of Black Psychologists focuses on. They've
Mm-hmm.
stripped that away from the therapeutic frame of what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost sort of it's one of the things that is often discouraged. It's
It
one of the
is
things that is
discouraging. Yes, it is
Mhm.
discouraging. I can attest to, being in college and wanting to find a therapist and just not being able to connect
Mhm.
because of my spiritual background. And I was like, wait, you don't think the way that I think, so I can't talk
Yes.
to you. Like
Yes.
you don't understand my, even my revolutionary Pan-African background to be able to connect with you in that way,
Mhm.
for you to
Mhm.
understand the way that I think. And so that yes, thank you. Thank you. You have the answers.
Well, and
Wonderful.
it's so many
Mhm,
people, have had your same experience,
mhm,
myself included, before
mhm,
I went into the field. And it's really hard to even explain sometimes,
mhm,
because it hits you at every level, from the way that questions are even asked, and the assumption that you get to expose someone in that way without forming a relationship,
mhm,
and what it means to really join with a person and, have your liberation tied up with theirs.
mhm,
So there's just certain things that, for many individuals who have gone through this process, they get turned off very quickly, and
mhm,
so that's why I'm committed to really pushing in to community spaces, so
mhm,
that, first of all, people can know that there's hope. There are individuals who are, culturally grounded, spiritually grounded, that have, you know shared lived experiences, where there's a shorthand to communication, and also to recognize that there are multiple, uh, processes, multiple pathways to healing, for
mhm,
people who are not ready to move into talk therapy, don't trust talk therapy, are not interested in talk therapy. So again, using the cultural arts, using, nature, using, um, herbal medicine, really having a holistic approach,
mhm,
spiritual practices, all of those things get to go when
mhm,
we build a package around healing. And so, thank you for sharing your experience, and
mhm.
so many people have had the same.
Yes, there's so many people in our community that need this right now. Just off of, the police brutality alone, when there's ever, an incident in the news of police brutality like George Floyd or
Mhm.
what happened at Ferguson, like we as a people are emotional and we have emotional reactions to these current events. And
Mhm.
even right now, we're at war, you know,
Literally.
and we don't know what the economic field is going to be. We don't know what the orange man is about to do.
Mhm.
But and our community is real, like we are all we have. And it's imperative that we start talking. It's imperative that we start talking with each other, that families are coming together. And the International African Arts Festival is like the hugest family reunion of Black
Mhm.
cultural community that we have. So this year, we want people to come out to our new forum at Lincoln Terrace Park, but definitely come out to this event this weekend, April 19th. We are calling everyone to come together again so we can address these issues that we have in our community and get the tools, get the tools, and be able to tap in on a deeper level and really express and share and commune with each other so that we can get this healing that we need. Definitely. So thank you, Dr. Jamila. I appreciate you. Mhm,
My pleasure, and again, Sister Sakina, thank you,
mhm,
and the entire collective from International African Arts Festival and NACO for just
Mhm.
giving the community an outlet
Mhm.
to really experience the beauty of who we are and
Yes.
the brilliance, the sheer African brilliance that exists within our community in so many different ways. So
Mhm.
these platforms are so important, and I'm grateful for being able to join you on this day. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, indeed. You're welcome. And thank you likewise. So we are going to just reiterate for everyone watching to like, to comment, to share, to express your experiences, and to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And also to make sure that you attend this event on April 19th at Restoration Plaza from 3:30 to 5:30 today or this weekend. And also, we have our Drive for 55 because this is the 55th year for the International African Arts Festival. We will be housing at Lincoln Terrace Park on July 3rd through the 5th. And uh, we this is our 55th year, so we are fundraising for the Drive for 55. And we also have Text to Give, which has been reenacted, where you can now become a sustaining member of the International African Arts Festival, where you can donate monthly. You can give a recurring donation on a consistent basis, or you can donate one time. But our Drive for 55 is really to encourage people to donate any denomination of $55 to the International African Arts Festival. So again, we want to sustain our organization for another 50 years to come. We've able to sustain up to this point, and moving forward, we are always have been a grassroots organization, and we ask you, our audience, to continue to sustain us moving forward. So thank you. Okay, so I think that comes to the end of our segment. And I'm going to ask Beware to take it from here. I think he's going to come on.